For this project, any category 3 yarn will work, but I used a half a skein of Bernat Baby Sport yarn in baby gray and a quarter skein of white. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There's an optional written pattern that can help out too. Link in the description if you'd like to grab that and follow along. We're using 5 stitches for this project and they will be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, double crochet, herringbone stitch. This tutorial is for a size small, but you can adjust it for your size and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this cardigan started, we're first going to grab our category 3 yarn, make a slip knot, grab our 5mm hook, and start off by making a chain that can reach around the base of our neck loosely and is also divisible by 4. And just as an example, I'm going to make a chain of 56 loops, or 16 inches or 41 centimeters. We are back with our chain, and the next thing that we're going to have to do is go in with some measurements. So right before we get started on the actual piece, we're going to need to figure out some spots. So the easiest way to get this started is to first off start by measuring the base of our neck, but behind our neck. And this is going to go from one end to the next. And just to let you guys know, from this stitch marker to this, I have a total of 8 inches or 20 centimeters or 23 chains in between these stitch markers. Next is going to be our shoulder chunks that we have right here. And these are exactly the same. On this side, I have 2.5 inches or 6 centimeters or 10 chains in between. And then this last portion that we have is going to be the part that hangs over our body. And these chunks are a total of 1.5 inches or 4 centimeters or 7 chains. And the place where we insert our second stitch markers out here that has this chunk that hangs out in front of us is going to be right in the middle of our collarbones on either side. So once we're wearing it, it'll look like this. This part will be behind our neck where our back is. This part will be where our shoulder is. And then these two parts on the outside ends of our stitch markers is going to be in front of our body, which is going to make up the front panels of our cardigan. And then once when we have all this done, we're going to insert our stitch markers and then we can go in with the rest of our cardigan. Now that we have everything marked off, the next thing we're going to go in with was a row of single crochet. And so we're going to go in with single crochets all the way up until we get to each stitch marker. And then we're going to be doing an increase of 3. But I'll show you guys how to do that once when we get to each of our stitch markers. So starting off our first row for this cardigan, we are going to block off that last chain that we just did to a chain up of 1, and then into that loop that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook, we're going to go in with a single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook into that second loop, yarn over, pull through. We should have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's do this one more time. Into this next loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to keep going down, putting 1 single crochet into every loop that we have until we get to our first stitch marker, and then we'll be doing an increase of 3. We are now here. This is where our first stitch marker is, so for now I'm going to be taking this guy out since we're working into this loop. And then from here we're going to be putting 3 single crochet into that same loop. So we're going to go in with 1 single crochet into the same loop, 2, and then into that same loop one more time, 3. And if you guys want to count it out, we should have 1, 2, 3 coming out of that loop. We're going to take our stitch marker that we just took out, and then we're going to slide it in through that middle loop, so the second one. So here's 1, 2, and then 3 is our last one. And then once we get here, we're back at our regular chain portion. So we're going to go in, putting 1 single crochet into every loop until we get to our next stitch marker. And at every stitch marker, we're going to be doing an increase of 3. So I'll meet you guys back at this next one, just so we can do the next one together, and then I'll let you guys have at the rest of your chain from there. We have made it over to our next stitch marker, so just like before, we're going to take it out for now. And then into that loop that we just took our stitch marker out of, we're going to go in with 3 single crochet. So here is 1, 2, and 3. Once we have our 3, we're going to take our stitch marker again and then place it into that middle loop. So here is the 1, 2, 3 that we just did. Insert the stitch marker into the second. And then from here, we're going to do the same thing. So put 1 single crochet into every loop that we have, going all the way down until we reach our next stitch marker, increase of 3, and then do the same thing going all the way down. Once when we reach the end, I'll meet you guys back so that we can get started on the next row. This is what we should have once when we have gone in with our first row of single crochets while doing an increase of 3 at each of our stitch marker points that we have. And then once when we have this, we can start going in with our herringbone pattern while maintaining that increase of 3 at each of our points. Starting off our herringbone pattern, we are going to start by doing a chain up of 3 that counts as a double crochet or herringbone. We're going to flip our work, and then the herringbone that we're going to do, it's going to be kind of like a fancy double crochet. What it is we're going to start off by doing a yarn over. We're going to insert our hook into that next available loop that we have. We're going to insert, yarn over, pull through, and then we should have 3 loops on our hook. And from here, we're going to grab the piece of yarn that's closest to our hook, and we're going to pull that underneath that second loop that we have on our hook. We're just going to pull that underneath, and now we should have 2. And then once we have that 2, now we're going to do a yarn over, pull through 1, like that, and then from here, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is our first herringbone. As you guys can see, it's starting to go in at a slant, so let's do the next one together. We're going to prepare for a herringbone, so that's just a yarn over of 1. Insert our hook into that next available loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through, and we should have 3 loops on our hook. And from here, we're just going to pull the closest loop that is next to our hook underneath that second loop, like so. Once we have that, we're going to do a yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through the last 2 on our hook. And now you can see it's starting to do a little tilt. And we're going to keep doing this all the way down until we get to our stitch marker, because then we're going to be doing an increase of 3 herringbones. So I'll meet you guys back once we do that all the way down until our next stitch marker. We are back at our first stitch marker, and like I said before, we're going to be doing an increase of 3, but it's going to be with herringbone. So we're going to do this together because it could be a little confusing. We're going to take out our stitch marker, and then into that loop that we just took our stitch marker out of, we're going to do 1 herringbone together first. So we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that next loop, yarn over, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And there is our first herringbone into that corner loop. We're going to be doing 2 more into that same loop. So yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through. We're going to pull through this piece. It could be a little tricky, so you may have to pull it over like how I am. Once we have that, we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. We now have 2 of them into that corner loop. We're going to go in with just 1 more. Yarn over, insert, pull through that second loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And now we have our increase of 3 into the increase of 3 in the previous row. And then if you guys want, we can insert our stitch marker back into that second loop just so that we know which one it is. And then once we have that, we're going to continue with going in with herringbones all the way up, putting 1 into every loop until we reach our next stitch marker. And then we'll be doing another increase of 3. So I will be doing that, just putting 1 into every loop, and then we'll do the next increase of 3 together. We've just made our way over to our second stitch marker, and we're just going to do 1 more increase of 3 together. So we're going to take out this stitch marker. We're going to do a yarn over, and then into that loop, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through. We're going to pull that loop through the second one, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to do 2 more into that same loop. So prepare, insert, pull through, pull that loop through, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to be doing 1 more. So prepare, insert, pull through. We're going to pull that first piece of yarn underneath our second, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm going to be placing my stitch marker back into that second loop that we made for ourselves. And then from here, go all the way down, putting 1 herringbone stitch into every loop. And then when we get to every stitch marker, we're going to be doing an increase of 3. Then I'll meet you guys back once we get to this end. We have just finished up doing our second row, or our first row of herringbone, because we had 1 row of single crochet. And then our next row is rows of herringbone and doing an increase of 3 right where our stitch markers were. And the next row is another row of herringbone, and this is going to be the pattern for a little bit, but we're just going to start off the next row together, and then I'll let you guys have at it from there. In order to work our way up to the next row of herringbone, it's going to start off the same way that we did the first one. So we're going to start by doing a chain up of 3. We're going to flip our work, and then now we're just going to go straight in with our herringbone. So we are going to prepare for a herringbone, which is just a yarn over, insert into that first loop, yarn over, pull through. We're going to pull that yarn that we have that's on the hook underneath the second piece of yarn that we have. We're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's it. You guys already know how to do the herringbone stitch, so we're just going to go all the way down until we reach that stitch marker that we have. And then we're going to be doing another increase of 3 into that stitch marker and every stitch marker that we have. And then we're going to keep going down until this front stitch marker portion reaches right where our underarm is. I'll let you guys know how many rows and the length that we have and all that stuff in the next clip. But go ahead and keep doing this for a little bit. I will meet you guys back in a few minutes so that I can show you guys how I switch out my colors as well. But go ahead and have at it, and then I'll meet you guys back. We are back, and we have a decent amount of our work all finished up. We have 4 rows, and that is row 1, which is single crochet, and then 3 herringbone rows right after that. And just to let you guys know, measuring from the first row down to where I ended, I have just a little bit over 1.5 inches, or about 4 centimeters. And we came back now, the pattern will still remain the same, but we came back now so that we can switch out our colors. So switching out our colors is going to be fairly simple. What we're going to do is actually do our last herringbone into this last loop that we have. And we're going to keep doing it until we just have that last yarn over pull through that we have to do. So we're going to yarn over, pull through just like how we start. We're going to pull the first loop underneath our second loop, yarn over, pull through 1, and then from here what we would do is yarn over, pull through 2, but right before we pull through those 2, we're going to insert our next color onto our hook, and then from here we're going to pull our secondary color through those last 2 loops. And from here we can cut our first color and then tie the 2 tail ends together. So we just tied our 2 tail ends together, and now we can continue going on with the same pattern. And we did it this way so that we don't have any knots within our work, so that everything looks nice and clean. But once we have this, I will be going in with 1 row of my secondary color. I will be switching it out again for our main color, and then I'm going to maintain the same pattern of herringbones and then doing an increase of 3 right when we get to the corners. And we're going to keep going until those corners reach right where our underarm is. So for me, it's going to be either 14 rows or a total of 6.5 or 17 centimeters. But this is going to be all up to you. You guys can adjust as needed, but I'll meet you guys back so that we can get started on the rest of this cardigan together. We are back really quickly just so that I can remind you guys that I am switching out my white after just 1 row. And then once we switch it out, I will have 3 rows of our gray or our main color. And that's going to be my color pattern for the remainder of this cardigan. So I'll meet you guys back once when we have the length that we need once it reaches under our underarm so that we can do the rest together. Okay, so we are back. We finally have this decent sized chunk, And with this chunk, it should be able to reach our underarm like so from the corners. But before we get into that, just to let you guys know, I measured in from this first single crochet row all the way down to where I ended. I have a total of 14 rows, or 6.5 inches or 17 centimeters. But once when we get to this point in the top, we're going to need to introduce our stitch markers again, because from here we're going to be folding our work in half like so, and then we're going to be inserting our stitch markers into these corners that we have. So the place that we're going to be inserting our stitch marker is actually right into the corner of our increase of 3 that we have. So I'm just going to flip this way so it's a little bit easier for us to see. Into this corner piece, we were doing our increases all the way down, and this is an increase of 3, as you guys can see, that's it. And then we're going to stick our first stitch marker into that second or middle loop. And then we're going to do the same thing for this back piece. Take a look at our increase of 3, and then insert that same stitch marker into that second loop. And now this should be all closed off. And if we want to put it down this way, I'll show you guys what we have. Now that we have our stitch marker in place, this area that we just kind of blocked off will be our armhole, and this will be our front panel, and then we obviously have our back panel, and then the same thing on this side. I've already inserted my stitch marker, so this is our armhole, and the back panel connects all the way through to this front panel right here. And then this body portion is going to be done all in one big piece, going back and forth, so this is going to be super duper easy. But once we have our stitch markers in place, we're going to continue on with the same exact pattern. So whatever color pattern you guys were doing, keep up with that. So since I ended off here, I'm going to continue on with my next row of herringbone. I'm going to do my chain up of 3 and do herringbone all the way down until we reach this stitch marker that we have right into this corner, so that we can connect everything, and then we'll continue to work our way back. So we're back, and we've just done our row of herringbone all the way down until we reached our stitch marker. And remember, our stitch marker is right where our corner pieces are to mark off where our armhole is. So what we're going to do is do another herringbone, but it's actually going to be a decrease herringbone, so that these two separate pieces that we have can become one. So we're just going to take our stitch marker out of these corner loops, and we're going to start off by making a herringbone into this stitch that we have right next to our hook. So we're going to yarn over, insert, pull through. We should have 3 loops on our hook, and from here we're going to go over to this next panel into that loop that had our stitch marker in it, insert our hook into there, yarn over, pull through. We should have 4 loops on our hook, and then from here we're going to do a herringbone, but instead of having 3 loops on our hook, we're going to be going in with 4. So from here we're going to take the loop that is closest to our hook, and we're going to be pulling through the next 2 loops that we have. So pull underneath those 2, and now we should have 2 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2. And then once we have that, our front panel should be all connected with our back panel, just like that. And then from here, continue to go down with your herringbone all the way down until we reach our next stitch marker. I'll meet you guys back so that we can do that one together, and then we'll continue on with the pattern from there. We are now at our other corner, or where our stitch marker is, and we're going to do the same herringbone decrease along both of these corners so that they can tie in together, and we're just going to do that together really quickly. So I'm going to be taking out this stitch marker. We're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that next available loop that we have into this panel that we're in, yarn over, pull through, and then we're going to jump over to this next corner loop that we have, the loop that our stitch marker was just in, insert, pull through. We should have 4 loops on our hook. From here we're going to yarn over, pull through 3 loops, and from here we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our decrease herringbone that combines both of these corner loops to make our armhole. And from here we're going to continue to go all the way down with more herringbone stitches until we make our way to the end, And then this portion is going to be the body. So we're going to keep going back and forth just like that until we get the body length that we want. And I'm going to keep going until I have a total of 52 rows, keeping in mind that we will be alternating between our two colors. Or I'll have a total of 25 inches or 64 centimeters. Alright, so we are back with the length that I wanted for this cardigan. You guys can obviously have longer or shorter, but from the first row that we have, so the first row of single crochets, all the way down to where I ended, which is right about here, I have a total of 52 rows. Or if you guys want to measure from this inner corner right here, measuring all the way down to also the bottom right here, I have a total of 25 inches or 64 centimeters. And this is perfect for where I want to stop. And now we can get started on just a little border. We're going to add more to it in a little bit, but we're just going to get it started, and then we're going to move on to the sleeve, and then we'll come back to the border after that. So if you guys have followed my color pattern of 3 rows of our main color and then 1 of our secondary color and went all the way down, and if you guys have the same amount of rows as me, then you guys would have ended right when you guys have finished your 3 rows of your main color, which mine is the gray. And now for this little single crochet border that we're actually going to be doing around this entire piece, I'm going to be switching it out to our secondary color, which is this white. So we will be switching out the colors the same way that we've been switching out the colors. So what I'm going to do is I have flipped my work, and now I'm going to insert my secondary color the same way that we've been inserting our colors. So into this last stitch that we have, I'm just going to take it apart so that we just have one more pull through to do. Pull through, yarn over, pull through 1, and from here we would yarn over, pull through 2, but we are going to be switching out for our secondary color. So all that is placing this onto our finger, placing it onto our hook, pulling through, and then now we can cut our first color and then tie the 2 tail ends together. And once when that is all set and ready to go, what we're going to do is do a chain up of 1. We're going to flip our work, and then we're going to go in with just a row of single crochet. So super duper easy. Into this first available loop that we have, we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through. We should have 2 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through 2. And we're going to keep going all the way across with 1 single crochet into every loop that we have. Once we reach the next corner, all the way across the bottom, I'll meet you guys back so that I can show you guys how to work your way up so that we can start our side panel right here. We've just made our way all the way across the bottom of our cardigan with our row of single crochet, and now we are at this next corner. And what we're going to do from here, since we are at this corner, we're going to do a chain up of 1. That's going to help us work our way around this corner. And then from here we do have all of these side herringbone rows to go into, and this is basically the same size as a side double crochet. So into each of these loops that we have for ourselves, we're going to be going in with 2 single crochet. So let's do the first little bit together until we get to this little set of tails that we have. Into this first side herringbone row, we're going to go in with 2 single crochet. So here is 1 single crochet, and then into that same loop, here is 2. And then now we're going to go up to that next row. Here is 1. Here is 2. We have just 1 more set to go into right before we get to our tails. So here is 1. Here is 2. And then now that we're at our tails, I'm going to show you guys how to weave the tails in with your work that we're doing, but my advice would be to only weave in the white tails since our single crochet row is white as well. And there's 2 reasons for that. If we end up going in with both colors, the gray could peek in between the white single crochets that we have right here, which is not too cute. And then also, if we end up doing both, it could just end up looking really bulky. So we're going to try and weave in as many as we can, which is just the whites. And then once when we are done, we are going to weave in the grays the same way that we would typically weave these in. But how we're going to do that is we're going to just hold the white tail end over our work, and then we're just going to be working around it the same way that we normally would. So let's do the first few single crochets together into this next side herringbone. We're going to be going in with 2 single crochet. This pattern doesn't change. So here's 1, keeping in mind that we are holding down this white tail that we have right over our work that we're going into. And then here's 2 single. And as you guys can see, our single crochet row is starting to form over this tail that we have, which is perfect. That's how it's going to be woven in as we go so that we don't need to go in later. And let's do just one more set together just to show you guys what it looks like. Into this next side herringbone, we're going to be going in with 1 single crochet, keeping in mind you're holding in your tail, and 2 single crochet. And it's pretty woven in, it's not going anywhere, which is perfect. But we're going to keep doing this all the way up until we get to the next corner that we have in our work. So we're going to keep doing 2 single crochets into each side herringbone loop until we get to this corner that we have right here, and then we're going to continue our single crochets along the inside of our collar, rounding that out as well. But I'll meet you guys back once we get here so I can show you guys what to do. We are back and we have just made our way all the way up our side panel, putting 2 single crochets into each side herringbone row that we have, and we have just inserted our hook into that last loop that we have with a single crochet. And since we're at this corner, we're going to do the same thing that we did in the previous corner. We're going to do a chain up of 1 and then insert your hook into that first loop with a single crochet. And now we should be at the collar portion, which goes all the way around like this. And like I said before, we do have these corners that start to have a pretty angled corner. And since we don't want that, all we're going to do is just go in with a row of single crochet, including in where that corner is, and we're not going to do anything fancy when we get there. So I'm just going to show you guys once. We're going to single crochet all the way up to the corner and past the corner, but as you guys can see, this is a corner right here. We're just going to single crochet all the way around, and we're going to do this all the way until we get to this next chunk that we have that goes back down our front panel. Once we get here, we're going to do a chain up of 1 and then do the same thing that we did on the other side, which is put 2 single crochets into each of these side herringbone rows that we have, and then we'll meet each other back at the very end so that we can connect with a slip stitch together. We're finishing up our single crochet row that went around the entirety of the top portion that we have so far, and we're all the way back to where we started. So what we're going to do is do a chain up of 1 because this is a corner, and then into this first loop that we made for ourselves, we're going to insert with a slip stitch and cut. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, chain up 1, and then we're going to cut, and then we're good. And now we're ready to get started on the sleeves. We're now all ready to go in with our first sleeve that we have, but the first thing that we have to do is see which way we need to start this next row. We are always going to be starting at the bottom, but we're going to want to look at this last row that we did and see which way our herringbone is leaning. So we have zoomed in quite a bit just so I can show you guys what direction my last row is going into. So since these herringbones are going up in a diagonal, going up in this direction, that means that this last row we were going in this direction. And in order to keep up with our herringbones, we're going to need to work our way around, and then once we get to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 3 and then work the same way that we just came so that we're not working in a continuous circle. So since this is going up and around this way, we're going to follow this all the way down here. This is where we're going to start. We're going to pretend like we just finished up this row. We're going to do a chain up of 3 and then work our way back around the way that we came, which is this way right here. So with that knowledge that we know with which direction we need to be going in with our sleeve, what we're going to do is take a look at this bottom loop that we have. Remember a little bit ago, we did that decrease, which is right here, that went in between these 2 sleeve corners. What we're going to do, there should be kind of a loop there. What we're going to do is insert our hook in through that loop, which is basically the bottom of the decrease that we have. Insert our yarn onto our hook, and then we're going to be going in whatever direction we need to be going into. So for me, I'm going to be working in this direction since we just came in from this way. I'm going to pull my yarn through, do a chain up of 3, and then continue doing my herringbones from here. So we're just going to do the first few together. We're going to prepare for a herringbone, so that's just 1 yarn over, insert our hook into that next available loop, yarn over, pull through. We're going to take that loop that's on our hook, pull it through that second loop that we have, and from here we're going to yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. Let's do the next one together. Yarn over, insert your hook into that next loop, yarn over, pull through, pull that first loop underneath our second loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2. And then as you guys can see, since these herringbones were going in this direction, these are going to be going in the opposite direction, so we know that we are going the right way. And we're just going to continue to do that all the way around, remembering to switch out our colors with whatever color pattern you guys have. But this part isn't going to be fancy at all. We're just going to keep doing this until we get to the bottom of our arm or the sleeve length that we want, remembering that we will have a tiny cuff at the end as well. But I'll meet you guys back so that I can do the rest with you guys. We've just made our way around with our first row of our herringbone for our sleeve, and like I said, all we're going to do is slip stitch into this first chain up of 3, chain up another 3, and then we're going to flip our work and work our way back so that we can keep up with this herringbone pattern. So I'm just here to remind you guys. So since we just went into our last loop, we're going to count out 1, 2, 3 chains. We're going to insert our hook into that third, and we're going to yarn over, pull through everything on our hook. Once when we have this, we're going to do a chain up of 3, flip our work, and then from here put 1 herringbone stitch into every loop going all the way around. Once we make it to the end, we're going to slip stitch into that chain up of 3, do a chain up of another 3 to work our way up to the next row, and then flip our work, and then do that going back the opposite way. So basically just keep going the way that you came once when you guys get to the end, and then I'll meet you guys back once when we have our sleeve length. Okay, so really quickly, we are back and we are going to be switching out our colors just like how we did for the body portion. I have my 3 rows of gray herringbone and we are going to switch back out for our white. So we're going to start off by doing a slip stitch into this first chain up of 3, just like how we've been doing once we get to the end of every row. So we're just going to insert our hook into that third chain. We're going to yarn over and pull through just 1 loop that we have, and from here we should have 2 loops, and then we're now going to introduce our secondary color or our next color, insert that onto our hook. Once we have that, we're going to pull that through, and then from here it's going to be exactly the same. Go ahead and cut the first color we are working with, tie the 2 tail ends together, and then continue on with our work, making sure that we are going around the way that we just came from. And I'll meet you guys back once we have the majority of our sleeve done so that we can do the cuff together. So we have just finished up doing the majority of our sleeve. And starting from where we started our sleeve, this row right here, all the way down to where I ended, I have a total of 31 rows. And the measurement that I have, marking off that same row that we started off of, I have a total of 15.5 inches or 60 centimeters. And now we're ready to start going in with our cuff. And the last color that I ended on was white because I want my cuff to be white from here. So I'm going to switch out my color for the gray just like how we've been doing. And then together we're going to go on with a single crochet row of gray. So we're back and our gray is all nice and intertwined and ready for us to go into our first row for our cuff. And the first thing we're going to do is just go around with a row of single crochet. This isn't going to be anything fancy. We're just going to insert our hook into that first available loop that we have, and we're going to go in with a single crochet. But since we're here, we can actually hide in our tail ends, and the same rules apply that we did along the side. I'm just going to be hiding in the gray tail, and then later I'm going to have to go in with the white. But once we get here, we're going to yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our single crochet. Let's do this one more time into that next available loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and we're going to keep going all the way around just like this until we make our way all the way back, and then we will slip stitch into that first loop that we made for ourselves, and then we can make our cuff. We've just finished up doing our first row of single crochet for our cuff. And the next thing we're going to do is just slip stitch into that first loop that we made for ourselves for this row of single crochet. Yarn over, pull through. From here we're going to chain up one and cut, and then we're going to reintroduce our white color because that's going to be the color of our cuff. So now that we have a row of single crochet gray all finished up, we have cut and tied. Now we can insert our hook into any one of these loops so that we can get started on the cuff. So what we're going to do is insert our hook into any loop, insert our cuff color onto our hook, pull through. And I'm going to start off by making a chain that comes out to 2 inches or 5 centimeters or 8 chains. Once when I have the cuff length that I want, what I'm going to do is block off that last chain that we just made, do an extra chain up of 1, and then into that loop that we blocked off, or our second chain from our hook, we're going to insert our hook into that loop with a slip stitch. So we just inserted, now we're going to yarn over, pull through everything on the hook, just like that. Let's do the next few together. We're going to insert our hook into that next available loop, yarn over, pull through everything, and just one more together into that next loop, yarn over, pull through everything. And we're going to continue doing slip stitches all the way down our chain until we don't have any more loops left to go into. And then once we make it all the way down here, we're going to slip stitch it into the base so that we can continue on with our cuff. We have just put one slip stitch into every loop that we have going back down our chain, and we are right next to our base. So the next thing that we're going to do is take a look at the next available loop that we have into the base, which just so happens to be this one right here. From there, we're going to slip stitch into that loop to close off this row. So we're going to insert our hook into that loop, yarn over, pull through everything. And now this row is attached to the base. And we're basically going to do the same thing. So in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch into the next available loop going up our base. We're going to insert, yarn over, pull through everything. From here, we're going to flip our work. And then we're going to go into each of these loops that we have with a back loop slip stitch. So instead of going in through both of these loops like we typically do, we're just going to be inserting our hook in through that back loop. And from here, we're going to yarn over, pull through everything. Let's do the next one together again. Into this next back loop that we have. Insert, pull through everything. And we're going to keep doing this all the way down our work. Once we make our way to the end, we're going to do a chain up of 1, flip our work, do more back loop slip stitches, and then I'll meet you guys back so that we can connect it into the base together just one more time. So we have just made our way back down with our back loop slip stitches going down towards our base. And just to remind you guys, make sure that we have the same amount of loops that we have when we did our initial chain for the cuff, because it could be easy to miss a loop. So we did a chain up of 8, and just to make sure, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 loops. And now that we're sure that we have the right amount of loops, you're going to take a look at our base and we're going to connect it together. So into this next available loop that doesn't have anything into it, we're going to insert our hook with a slip stitch. So we're going to yarn over, pull through everything, and now that row is attached. And then in order to work our way up to the next row, slip stitch into that next available loop. Once we have that, flip our work, and then we're going to go into that first back loop that we have with a back loop slip stitch. And we're doing it this way so that our sleeve can cinch in, and also so that our cuff can have some give when we wear it, and also give us some really pretty ribbing. But yeah, go ahead and keep doing this until we don't have any more loops left in our cuff, and then we can attach it together and then get started on the second sleeve. So we're back and we are about to finish up our cuff. We don't have any more loops left to go into the base, as you guys can see. And now we're just going to go in with a row of single crochet along these 2 panels that we have, making sure that our hook goes in through the front and the back panel so that we can close this up. And then also, this is a very convenient time to weave in these ends that we have on the ends as well. Since this is going to be the inside seam, it doesn't matter if you can see the extra colors along the inside or if it looks bulky. This is easier for us in the end. But once we get here, what we're going to do is we're first going to take a look at our front panel, the panel that's closest to us, and we're going to insert our hook into the first available loop that we have, just like that. And then into the same loop that we have right here, but along the back panel, which is this one right here, the first available loop right here. We're going to insert our hook in through there as well. And then once we have that, we can take our tail ends, hold it over our work, just like how we would hold our stuff regularly. And then from here, we're going to yarn over, pull through everything on the hook except for this last loop that we have right here. So yarn over, pull through everything just like that. We should have 2 loops on our hook. Once we have that, we're going to yarn over, pull through 2. We're basically just single crocheting, but making sure that it's going in through both the front and the back panel, and having our tails intertwined in the middle. So we're going to do the next one together again. Into this next available loop that we have right here, I'm going to insert my hook, if I can, because this is kind of small. Once when it's in through the front panel, we're going to take a look at the back panel. You may need to tuck the tails aside a little bit, it may get in the way. But into the next available loop that we have in the back panel, which is this one right here, we're going to insert our hook. Once we have that, put our tails back over our work, just like that. We're going to yarn over, pull through everything except for this last loop. And then we should have 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. And that's basically the pattern. We're just going to keep doing that all the way down until we get to the end, and then we're going to cut and tie. Now that we've made it all the way to the end and cut and tied, this is our cuff. I can now flip my work inside out because this seam is going to be along the inside. So let's do that really quickly. And this is what the outside looks like. This is going to be on the bottom, so you don't have to worry about that. And this is it. And basically everything that we have just done for our sleeve together, we're going to do the exact same thing that we have here, but on the other side. And then once when we have this next sleeve all together, we're going to meet each other back so that we can get started on the bottom border. We are back and we have just finished up doing both of our sleeves. Now the next detail we're going to do is do a bottom border. And all that is we're going to go in with our bottom border color that we want. I do want mine to be gray. And then we're just going to go in with some ribbing from here all the way across. Taking a look at our bottom border, we're first going to go in with a bottom border length that we like. And just like how my cuff is, I like 2 inches or 5 centimeters for that. So I'm going to be inserting my hook into this corner loop, and by this corner loop it's actually going to be the chain that we did when we went in with our single crochet border. So this is our corner loop. We're going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, and since I'm going in with 2 inches or 5 centimeters, I'm going to make a chain that comes out to 8 chains. Now that we have our chain, we are going to block off that last chain that we just did. From there, we're going to do a chain up of 3 that counts as a double crochet. We're going to prepare for a double crochet, and then into that loop that we blocked off, or the 4th loop from our hook, we're going to go into there with a double crochet. So we're going to insert, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, and that's our first double crochet. Let's do just one more together. Into this next loop, prepare for a double, insert into that next loop, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And from there, we're just going to go all the way down our chain, putting 1 double crochet into every loop. And then we'll connect into the base together. So we're back with our first row of double crochets going down our chain, and now we're going to need to connect it into the base. So how we're going to do that is take a look at the next 2 available loops that we have. So this is the first one. Here's 1. Here's 2. Once we find our second one, we're going to insert our hook into that second one with a slip stitch. Pull all the way through just like that. And now this first row is nice and connected. And then in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to be slip stitching up the next 2 loops as well. So here is 1. And then here's 2. From here, we're going to flip our work. And then we're going to be doing more double crochets, but we're going to go in through the back loop. So we're going to prepare for a double crochet. Insert our hook into that first back loop. We're going to yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. So double crocheting just like normal, but making sure that we're going in through the back loops. And that is basically it. We're going to keep doing this all the way down until we don't have any more back loops left to go into. Once when we get there, we're going to do a chain up of 3, flip our work, and do more back loop double crochets, working our way back. And then once when we get there, we're going to connect into the base together just one more time. We just made our way all the way back down with our 3rd row of back loop double crochets, and now we're going to connect into the base together just one more time. So how we're going to do that is count up the next 2 available loops in our base. So here is 1, here is 2. We're going to insert our hook into that 2nd loop with a slip stitch, and now this row is closed off. And then in order to work our way up to the next row, we're going to slip stitch up the next 2 loops. And now that we've slip stitched up the next 2 loops, we will flip our work, prepare for another back loop double crochet, and then go all the way down with more back loop double crochets. And this is going to be the entirety of our bottom border. So go ahead and do this all the way down, and then I will meet you guys back. We are back, and we have just finished up doing our row of bottom border, which was just back loop double crochets. And we have cut and tied because we don't have anything else left to do. So since we're here, the last thing that we have to do is just weave in all of our ends. We've woven in our ends, and now our cardigan is all done. This cardigan was a lot of fun to make because I loved experimenting with this new top-down technique and playing around with this herringbone stitch. This was also our first official pattern, so link in the description if you'd like to support. Or if you'd like to purchase this cardigan, links to our Poshmark, Depop, and Etsy are down there too. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up and leave a comment telling us your favorite part. But if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, but let us know why, because we're always looking to improve. If you love it, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you can know when we got new videos for you. Be sure to share us with your friends on Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Facebook. Links to our platforms will be in the description, so be sure to stop by and say hi. But as always, guys, thank you so much for watching and for supporting, and we will see y'all in the next one.